Last week we showed you an 18,000 sodium EV from China. No lithium, no cobalt. Charges in 15 minutes. Holds range in -20. The top comment: not possible at that price. It's already in production. So the question isn't whether this technology works. The question is, who needs you to think it doesn't? First, let's address the elephant in the room. Range. The Chang'an Nevo in its current sodium configuration is rated at roughly 250 miles on the Chinese standard cycle. That's real-world competitive with a base-spec Tesla Model 3 or a Volkswagen ID. Fear on a warm day. Not class-leading, not the longest range you can buy. But here's where the comparison breaks down. At -20 degrees Celsius, which is a Tuesday morning in Minneapolis, in Oslo, in Helsinki, the Nevo retains over 90% of its rated capacity. The lithium competitors lose somewhere between 30 and 50%. In real terms, the sodium car with the smaller range often delivers more usable miles in cold conditions than the lithium car with the bigger number on the spec sheet. The marketing materials never mention this. The spec sheets don't flag it, and the dealership salesperson almost certainly doesn't know it. Range anxiety in electric vehicles has never really been about the number on the screen. It's been about trusting that the number on the screen means the same thing in February as it does in July. Sodium ion, for the first time, makes that promise credible. Now here's where it gets uncomfortable, because the obvious question is, if sodium ion is cheaper, safer, and performs better in cold weather, why aren't Ford, General Motors, Volkswagen, and Stellantis racing to adopt it? The answer isn't technical, it's financial. Between 2020 and 2023, Western automakers collectively signed long-term lithium supply contracts worth tens of billions of dollars. They built dedicated gigafactories designed specifically around lithium iron phosphate and nickel-manganese cobalt chemistry. They retooled production lines. They hired electrochemistry teams. They wrote 10-year model roadmaps with lithium baked into every single assumption. Volkswagen signed a $14 billion battery partnership with QuantumScape, betting on solid-state lithium. General Motors committed billions to its Ultium platform. Lithium chemistry, lithium supply agreements, lithium manufacturing infrastructure. Ford partnered with SK Innovation for lithium cells in the F-150 Lightning. These aren't flexible arrangements. They are decade-long commitments with penalty clauses, with sunk costs that cannot be recovered by pivoting to a different element. To walk away from lithium now would mean writing off billions in contracted supply, retooling manufacturing lines that took years to build, and explaining to shareholders why the strategy changed, all while a Chinese competitor has already deployed the alternative at scale. This is the innovator's dilemma, not the clean, theoretical version from business school textbooks. The messy, expensive, real-world version where the right decision and the financially survivable decision are not the same thing. So instead, what you're getting from Detroit and Munich is silence, or occasionally, the suggestion that sodium ion is a niche technology, suitable for smaller, cheaper vehicles in developing markets, not ready for serious applications. That talking point is increasingly hard to sustain when the niche technology is producing a 4-door fastback saloon with level 2 autonomy, capable of charging at 10 to 80% in under 20 minutes, at a retail price below $20,000. The narrative is under pressure. There is a second layer to this story that rarely gets discussed in automotive media, because it requires thinking about chemistry, trade policy, and industrial strategies simultaneously. Western governments have spent 3 years trying to solve the lithium problem through legislation. The U.S. Inflation Reduction Act tied EV tax credits to domestic battery content requirements, specifically to reduce dependence on Chinese lithium processing. The EU's Critical Raw Materials Act established strategic targets for domestic extraction and refining of battery minerals. All of it, every line, was written around the assumption that lithium is the irreplaceable foundation of electrification. Chang'an's decision to mass-produce a sodium-ion vehicle doesn't just change the battery conversation, it changes the policy conversation. Because sodium is not a critical mineral, it is not on any government's strategic materials list. No tariff framework, no domestic content requirement, no Rare Materials Act touches sodium. The policy architecture that was designed to protect Western automakers from Chinese supply chain dominance in lithium doesn't protect them at all from a competitor who simply doesn't need lithium. That is not an oversight. It is a structural gap that nobody anticipated, because nobody believed the sodium transition would happen this fast, at this scale, at this price. It has. Here's what this moment actually is. It is not a triumphant technology story. It is not a story about a great car at a great price, though it is also that. It is a story about momentum, about what happens when one part of an industry moves faster than the rest of the world's assumptions can adjust. The Nevo is on the road, the chemistry is proven, the manufacturing scale is real, and the economic structures that were supposed to protect legacy automakers from exactly this kind of disruption were built around a molecule that a competitor has decided to leave behind. The transition was always going to be fast. Nobody expected it to be this quiet. If this channel is how you're finding out, good. That's exactly why we're here. Subscribe. Because the next move is already being made, and we intend to be there when it happens.